Assalamu alaikum and a very good morning to all my dear students. Welcome back to subject English class 7. We continue with our textbook Grammar Get. Now students, we have already started this chapter 13 clauses. Today we'll see the last part of this chapter, part 3. But before we move to the exercise of this chapter, I would like to say everything what we have learned before. Now in this chapter, we have seen the differences between phrase, clause and sentence. We have learned that phrase is a small group of words which makes partial sense. Clause is more meaningful than phrase. With the subject and predicate. But then also, clause has subject and predicate both. But then also, clause is not saying the complete meaning. It's also incomplete meaning. And sentence. Sentence will say the complete sense of meaning, which is start with a capital letter and with a full stop, question mark or exclamation mark. That we have learned. After we have learned that in a sentence there should be two clauses. So that time you have to identify whether it is a main clause or subordinate clause. So in a clause also, clauses are two types, main clause and subordinate clause. Now we have learned before that main clause can be used on its own as a sentence, while subordinate clause cannot stand by itself. It depends on main clause or another clause. After we have seen that subordinate clause has some subordinate conjunctions which is joined by before, till, until, because, as if, so that, whether, who, after, before, when, etc. So it's joined by this type of conjunctions, and that's why this conjunction also known as subordinate conjunctions. So here we have learned about the clauses, main clause, subordinate clause. After, there are different types of subordinate clauses also we have learned. Noun clause. So in a noun clause we have learned that it works as a noun and it has object of a verb or complement of a verb. Then in adjective clause we have learned that according to the definition of the parts of speech adjective, that it describes or modifies noun or pronoun and is introduced by a relative pronoun like who, which, that and whom. And that's why this clause is also known as relative adverb. I'm telling about the adjective clause. Adjective clause also known as relative adverb, relative clause, because it's used like when, where and why. It's relative adverb. That's why it's also known as relative clause. After we have seen adverb clause, we say more about verb, the meaning of verb or an adjective or another adverb. Now I hope it's clear to you. Now we'll move to the exercise. Pick out the subordinate clause in the following sentences and classify them. Now first of all, you have to identify. Pick out means you have to identify the subordinate clause, and after you have to classify whether it's a noun clause, adverb clause or an adjective clause. Now look at here. Number 1, I doubt whether he will return the book. Now here Which conjunction are you able to see? Whether. We know that subordinate clause always join with a conjunction like whether, when, that, till, until, so that, because, that, before, after, etc. So students, first you have to identify subordinate clause, and to identify subordinate clause you have to find out first conjunctions. So it's very easy for you to find out subordinate clause. So here whether, so you can understand whether he will return the book. It's known as subordinate clause. Now look at here, I doubt. Now doubt is an object. Is the object of doubt. So that's why it's known as noun clause. So now in your textbook, how you will write? You will write this, or you can do one thing, only underline it in your textbook, which is the exercise which is in at page number 119. So open first of all, look at the first sentence. Look at here, just underline this and write here subordinate clause, and below write noun clause. Now look at the second one. Come in when I ring the bell. Now which conjunction is here used? When. When I ring the bell is known as subordinate clause. Now come in. Come is an action. When we say the meaning, when we say the action. So when we say more about action, so it's known as adverb. So here it's known as adverb clause. When is not saying about place. When is used for an action come. When is used for place, so place is a noun. So that time you have to use adjective clause. So students, don't be confused here. Now look at the third one. The boy who is standing there is my nephew. Now who is a conjunction, subordinate conjunction. So here who is standing there is my nephew is known as subordinate clause. Now who is used for the boy. The boy is a noun. So adjective is always saying more about noun or pronoun. So that's why it's known as adjective clause. He said that he wouldn't come. That is the conjunction. That he wouldn't come is subordinate clause. He said, object of said. So is a object of said, verb, action. So it's known as noun clause. Now look at the fifth one. Do you know where he has gone? Now look at here. Do you know where he has gone? So here, where he has gone is a subordinate clause. Do you know is a question sentence, but look at here, know. So is an object, is a verb, object of a verb, know. So is a noun clause. We have learned in noun clause that here we can see object of a verb or complement of a verb. My belief is that he is innocent. Now my belief is that is a conjunction. So that he is innocent is a subordinate clause. And what is here? My belief is that. So is a complement. Is. Complement of is. So that's why it's known as noun clause. The aunt who came to see us last week is my father's sister. Now first look at here. Who is a conjunction? Who came to see us last week is my father's sister. So students, underline this first. Right here, subordinate clause. Write full subordinate clause. subordinate clause. clause. Write full here. Now look at who came to see. Who is used for the aunt. The aunt is a noun. So adjectives is saying about noun or pronoun. So here, which clause? Adjective clause. Number 8. Would you post this letter for me while you are out shopping? While you are out shopping is known as subordinate clause. Now look at here. Would you post this letter for me while you are out shopping? What the action this person is saying? Post this letter while you out shopping. You are out shopping. So here, post this letter. So it's known as adverb clause. It's saying about the action. He didn't say where he was going. He didn't say where he was going. Now look at here, where is used but not for the place. Here there isn't any place. Where is a conjunction, where he was going is a subordinate clause. He didn't say is an object of saying. Here object or verb is a say. So it's known as noun clause. Students, I hope that you understand it. Once again I say you that when there is a object or verb or complement is there, complement or verb is there, means it's a noun clause. When this conjunction is saying about the noun or pronoun, means is an adjective clause. Or if these conjunctions are saying more about the action or another adjective or another adverb, so that time you can understand that it's an adverb clause. Now look at the next. Have some tea before you go. Have some tea before you go. Now look at here, before is a conjunction, is a subordinate clause. Before you go, the subordinate conjunction, so is a before you go is a subordinate clause. And before you go, which action will happen? Have some tea. Have some tea. Have some tea is an action, have. So this before is saying about the action. So it's known as adverb clause. Now look at 11. I would like to retire to the town where I spent my childhood. I would like to retire to the town where I spent my childhood. Where is a subordinate conjunction. So where I spent my childhood is a subordinate clause. I would like to retire to the town is a main clause. But look at here. Where is saying about what? About the town, about the place. So is which clause? Is an adjective clause. The woman who lives next door is a doctor. Who is a subordinate conjunction? Who lives next door is a doctor, is a subordinate clause. Now look at here. Who? The woman who lives. The woman is a noun who is used for the woman. So that's why it's saying something about noun. So it's known as adjective clause. I don't know who he is. Now look at here once again who. Look at here who is used for woman. That's why woman is a noun and that's why is an adjective clause. Is saying more about this conjunction is saying more about the noun. So that's why it's known as adjective clause. But look at here I don't know who he is. Now who is a subordinate conjunction. Who he is a subordinate clause. I don't know. Now here the object of a verb is a know. Know is a verb. Object of know. So that's why it's not an adjective clause but it's known as noun clause. So students, try to understand the meaning of sentence. Try to understand that the conjunction is used in which meaning. If where is used, the where is not used every time for the place. If it's for the place, then it's an adjective clause. But if it's used for an action, so that time you have to remember that here adverb clause will come. Now look at here number 14. Here is the book which you want. Which subordinate clause? Which you want subordinate clause, which is known as subordinate conjunction. Which you want is known as subordinate clause. Here is the book which is used for the book. Here is the book which you want. So book is a noun. So here which clause will come? Adjective clause. Now students, this 4 sentence, try to solve it yourself. You can easily solve these 4 sentences after understand this. So try it yourself. Do your best. Try to understand whole chapter. If you want to learn once again, you can check part 1 and part 2 also. Thank you students and have a nice day.